Some flares over on the far side. Celtic will hope there is a taste of champagne come the end of the evening. Remember, they require a point from their remaining 2 games. But for now, the green and white hoops of Celtic and the blue and white stripes of Kilmarnock, the 2 sets of players will gather outside the centre circle, as now Tommy Burns will be remembered here at Rugby Park, as everybody rises to their feet to acknowledge a much-loved figure within the Scottish game.
We now ask everyone to join us in a minute's applause to the main part and lead Tommy Burns as we
Tommy Burns, fondly remembered. His presence, 16 years, still lives on.
Absolutely. And anyone who met him, they said he was a brilliant player. Just a brilliant man, lovely man, honest, honourable man. The team they put together at Kilmarnock was superb, but the Celtic team, not winning the League One season against Rangers, was one of the best Celtic teams I've seen. You know, they were so beautiful to watch. They were so attack-minded. They were such a mirror of the man himself. So, yeah, deeply loved around here.
You think of the great Celtic teams that have been down the years as well. That is high praise indeed. Celtic are looking for yet another title, and they can wrap it up here tonight on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. I'll run through the 2 teams for you as we are underway, with Don Robertson, the referee, getting us underway with Celtic in the white and green hoops, playing from right to left as we look, with Kilmarnock in their royal blue and white striped shirts and royal blue shorts, defending the end where the Celtic fans are housed in the Chadwick stand away towards our left. And remember, Celtic have lost both of their games here at Rugby Park this season. If you've never been to this part of the world, in Ayrshire and to Rugby Park, it's a ground that holds around 15,000. There are 4 separate stands, so there are gaps at each corner, and indeed the east stand over on the far side doesn't run the entirety of that pitch. It just stops a little short, just past the penalty area on the far side, as we sit here in the Frank Beattie stand watching on, and it's not quite full either. Celtic have packed out the end away towards our left with an allocation of just over 3,800, as Kilmarnock have got a throw on this near side the right. Run through the 2 teams after it's taken. Just 1 change each, incidentally, as a long throw comes in, and it's headed away by Scales and then fired over by Donnelly. So O'Hara is in goal instead of Will Dennis in goal, just his 5th appearance, the Irish international, in between the sticks, replacing the Bournemouth loanee. Lewis Mayo, Robbie Dees, Stuart Findlay and Corian Darber make up that defence for Killy. Matty Kennedy, David Watson, Liam Donnelly and Daniel Armstrong the midfield, with Kyle Bassell and Marley Watkins as a front 2. Celtic have made 1 change from the team that beat Rangers. It's an attack as Ida comes in for Kyogo. So Hart is in goal for what will be his penultimate game, of course. No, it won't be his penultimate game, penultimate league game for Celtic. The Scottish Cup final still to come. Alistair Johnson, Carter Vickers, Scales and Greg Taylor, Hatate, O'Reilly and McGregor the midfield, Maida, Ida and Forrest as the front three. Pat Nevin.
Very noticeable in the game against Rangers recently. Maida was absolutely unstoppable. He made constant work rate, incredible amount of good skills too, but watch out for Liam Scales, left centre back. He's a player who's been fabulous for Celtic this season.
Just recently signed a new deal to Scales as the ball is played forward to Hatate, sends over the cross, and it needed some defending because Johnston was arriving late into the penalty area and he forced Kilmarnock to concede the corner.
Yeah, just a moment, you say that it's not full in the Kilmarnock end. Historically, some of the clubs in Scotland don't fill out their allocations when Celtic and Rangers come. They don't enjoy it, so that's the reason.
Corner from the far side, swung over, it was aimed towards Carter Vickers, stabbed forward then by Liam Donnelly in the midfield for Kilmarnock. Forrest plays the ball out to O'Reilly, who's had such an excellent season, hasn't he, for Celtic, sweeping all in front of him in terms of the awards that he's collected.
Yeah, I mean, a really elegant player, and certainly one of those players that has been looked at from other leagues, and I'll be honest with you, bigger leagues in Scotland at the moment.
O'Reilly plays it out to Forrest, cuts in off the right touchline, left-footed shot, charged down, goes behind Maida inside the penalty area. Back then to Taylor. Kilmarnock trying to force Celtic away as this is Liam Scales on the halfway line. How's it started in that WSL game? Sahel Sahi.
21 minutes played here, Ian. Tottenham 0, Chelsea 0, but Chelsea's dominance not turning into goals. 4 efforts from them, 3 shots all saved by the Tottenham goalkeeper, and 1 header over the top from 7 yards out. Tottenham 0, Chelsea 0.
Watkins wins a throw for Kilmarnock over on that far side, the left. Cross is delivered, but it's a little wayward, and Taylor will have all the time, but he'll let it run out of play for a throw.
It's very noticeable that that little tackle there, the Kelly fans are well up for that as well. I mean, clearly the Celtic fans they're sang constantly from the start of the game. I mean, those Celtic supporters' tickets are gold dust tonight.
Ida running forward. Ida to the heart of the Kilmarnock defence, plays it out towards that far side. O'Reilly looks for Forrest down that right side.
I'm amazed the referee's not called it up. It's a head injury here.
O'Reilly with a low shot in and turned in from close range. Adam Ida, the change that Brendan Rodgers has made with the early goal. Pouncing from close range, he could hardly miss. Kilmarnock protest the officials as Celtic take an early lead.
Yep, Celtic, they shouldn't put the ball out. It's not up to them, it's up to the referee to stop the game. If it is a head injury, of course, that's why we've got VAR. We can have a look at that in a moment. Kilmarnock are absolutely fuming, but we've not seen a replay, so it wasn't obvious. Beautifully worked goal there, getting down the line there, brilliantly crossed across there, and as you say, it was a tap-in because it could have been 2 tap-ins, 2 players running in there to slide it in, and it's lovely play from Celtic, and of course that man O'Reilly you're talking about beforehand, right in the centre of it, playing a beautiful ball across.
O'Reilly with the assist. Had he missed it, there'd have been Maida running in behind him.
Do you know what? We've just seen it. It's a flailing arm. He does get smacked in the face, and absolutely no chance it was deliberate, and he won't call it off. But it is a head injury, and you're kind of supposed to stop it. He's not faking it, he's not acting it. He was smacked, but I don't think it's deliberate, and that's certainly going to cause a bit of controversy. Well,
our touchline reporter here tonight at Rugby Park is Gavin Wallace.
Yeah, it looks as if it may well have been an elbow on the face of Robbie Dees. I'm just getting a chance to look back at that. The goal, as you say, right at the back post, but there was a potential for that. Robbie Dees has just come back actually from a facial injury. He's not happy. He's having a word with Don Robertson just now, Ian, but I suspect this goal will stand. They will go and look at the attacking phase of play, but there's a very good chance that this will stand.
Thank you, Gavin. Yep, it looks like play is going to restart, and it is going to stand, and Celtic are ahead in controversial circumstances.
It has to be. I mean, before the goal was scored, I said, well, wait a minute, that's a definite facial head injury. You almost always stop the play. I mean, if the players are faking it, that is the problem. There's so many players out there faking it, you know. And to be honest, I've watched it now from 2 different angles. I'm shocked the referee didn't stop that, I have to say. I'm really surprised.
Well, Robbie Dees is wanting to come back onto the field of play. He's got certainly one swab stuffed up one of his nostrils on his right side of his nose. He might even indeed have it up both nostrils. A clear indication of the impact that he had to his face. But the goal does stand, and Celtic are leading by 1-0 through Adam Ida, who has, well, at the time when he first arrived from Norwich, there was a little bit of derision, wasn't there? However, he's scored 8 goals now in 17 appearances, and there's talk of maybe a permanent move.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his physicality gives Celtic something else that Kyogo has. Kyogo's got one weakness. It's maybe a lack of physicality. His goal scoring is fabulous. He's been great for Celtic. Much love for it, and a great worker as well. But that physicality that Ida adds on top of it, they needed to add goals, and he did.
Well, for a free kick inside the centre circle, Donnelly has just drilled it forward right-footed, trying to catch Joe Hart off his goal line. It was certainly ambitious.
Wasn't a bad effort, though, was it? Wasn't too bad. I mean, Joe Hart didn't look that worried about it, did he? I mean, he just let it sail over his head, but it was going wide. He had it covered, but that's from his own half he shot that, so good imagination.
Crucially, though, as you'd pointed out, it's not Celtic's decision it's the referee to stop play.
Right, to underline, not Celtic, they've not done anything wrong. It's probably not even a foul, because it's just a flailing arm, it's not deliberate. But it's a head injury, it's a clear facial injury, so you'd expect it to stop. And the play did go on for a while after that, so I expected it to stop. When the VAR look at it, there's nothing clear and obvious, it's a foul, so they ain't going to change it.
Armstrong with a throw on the right hand side. Watkins runs down towards the corner flag, and the decision now goes in favour of Celtic as well, in front of this main stand here at Rugby Park, where Celtic, who remember only required a point ahead of kick-off to win a third successive title, are leading already by 1-0. And Ida now has passed the ball forward to Forrest, and Forrest to the edge of the area, and Forrest scampers forward, but the challenge from the left back and Ndaba was in and took a lot of the pace off the ball, and it's gathered by the goalkeeper O'Hara.
They look really lethal, don't they? They're going to go forward, Celtic, every time. There's pure pace. Most of it's been going down the right hand side with can we call it reborn James Forrest. He's had so many problems with injuries, but he's come back, and I'll put my hand up and say I never thought he would come back to the standard he had been before. He has looked fabulous in the last few weeks, and what help he's given to Celtic on that right hand side.
Because the first half of the season he was on the fringes, and there was indeed talk of a loan move away in January.
Yeah, he didn't lose if he was going to get that sharpness and that pace back. He'd had a lot of very bad injuries. It was a tough gig for him, but he has come back, and it's a wonderful late autumn in his career. Long throw here.
32-year-old James Forrest, what a servant he's been. So it is a long throw as well from Armstrong on this near side, the right. Comes back to Armstrong, tries to get away from Taylor, turns to face Taylor with his back to the main stand. They've doubled up on him, and he will win a corner. Did well because he had very little on.
Yeah, it's really well worked, and he's having a dig at the assistant referee taking the corner. I still think Keller annoyed by the goal, and with the referee not going for the facial injury, but it's gone now. They have to put it to the back of their minds. Whereas Celtic fans, they've already had one chant of "We've won the league again" in the past tense. Confident.
Corner's taken short. That decision, though, is still festering with Kilmarnock, as Maeda, who'll run all day long. Such a little dynamo that he is, but ball is tidied up by Kilmarnock, and back towards Kieran O'Hara, 6'3", Irish international goalkeeper, headed away by Greg Taylor, with a sign from Kilmarnock some 5 years ago. O'Reilly picks it up now for Celtic, out towards Forrest, midway through the Kilmarnock half, coming in off that right touch line, allowed, pass the ball towards the dark-haired figure of Hatate. Hatate now out to Johnston, back towards the Japanese international, looks for Johnston, he's got round the back here for Celtic, drills it in low, and there is another goal for Celtic. Maeda this time, and Celtic have got off to a wonderful start. They're on their way. Nothing can surely stop them now. Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 2.
We're getting behind Celtic, are getting behind that left back area with absolute ease. It's a lovely ball played in down the line there. Maeda's celebrating. I wonder if he did get the last touch or it was an OG, but we will see in a minute. But once again, you play a little 1-2. If you're the left full back, you've got to go with them. It didn't happen there. So it's a terrible decision. And by the way, I'm looking at it, and Maeda has got there first there. Lovely little cutback. Questioning offside, not a hope. It is 2-0.
2 close-range goals in the opening 12 minutes. And Celtic are bang on course for what will be a 54th title in their illustrious history. And the Celtic fans packed behind that goal. If there were any nerves, they have soon evaporated in these early exchanges here at Rugby Park. They might have lost in their previous 2 visits. But hold on, there must be a VAR check because play is yet to get underway.
I suspect, I cannot see anything wrong with that goal. It's really hard, unless it was really early in the move. In fact, long before in the move, James Forrest, maybe an argument that he was offside very, very early in that move. In 3 or 4 passes before the goals actually scored. Maybe more than that, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 passes before the goal was actually scored.
But surely the Kilmarnock defence has had chance to reset after that, haven't they?
Absolutely, 100%, yeah. So that's the only thing it can possibly be with James Forrest. I'm talking 6-7 passes.
And the goal will stand. Incidentally, I think there might have been a green flare that had been thrown onto the pitch, which indeed Kieran O'Hara has just kicked off the playing surface from inside his penalty area. So that goal does stand. Ida after 5 minutes, Maeda after 12, and Celtic already are leading by 2-0 and are well on course for a 3rd successive title now.
They just look really good down that right hand side, Celtic. I mean, on the left hand side they've got the energy of Maeda and Hatate. I mean, they're really hard to play against. But Forrest and O'Reilly and Johnston together, the lovely little triangles that they've played over that far side there from us just now, and Kilmarnock just haven't got close to them.
The voice of Pat Nevin, who of course was a former player here in the late 90s, as Kilmarnock at the minute are Celtic are superior in every aspect of the minute, looking very, very sharp. That was Taylor alert to step out of defence at left back. O'Reilly's looked for a ball over the top, and then the ball by Armstrong on this near side has gone straight out of play. And Celtic have just got into a very, very quick rhythm and out of the traps very quickly.
That's exactly the point. It's the most important point. Certainly under Hans Postecoglou, that's what they did. They were 100 mile an hour at the start. They gave no one any peace at all, chased everybody down, and always attacked at every opportunity. No passes backward, everything went forward. Well, that's exactly the style that Celtic have played tonight from the start of the game. And it almost has won them already. Brilliant again, O'Reilly.
They're sharp, they're slick. They're out now to Forrest, right hand side of the area. Hatate. There's a little dummy there from O'Reilly, and then it's cleared away by Ndaba, headed back by Carter Vickers. That bouncing ball is headed forward on the run by David Watson in the midfield, but Celtic are quickly back in possession, and there is a control about Celtic already. The leaders and the champions looking to successfully defend their crown yet again. And all the noise emanating from the end away towards our left as O'Reilly is brought down, and that is a free kick for that foul in the midfield from Liam Donnelly.
He just ghosts past players effortlessly, O'Reilly. He's always on the half turn, the intelligence he's moving, sees great passes. Already he's having a superb game for Celtic.
That free kick has been taken. McGregor infield. Taylor, Carter Vickers, every Celtic player is in the half of Kilmarnock as they play from right to left. Here is Scales, blonde-haired central defender. Had a lone spell at Aberdeen last year, but really has established himself back in the Celtic starting 11, and a new deal recently to 2028 as the Irish defender looks to continue to be a key part in forming that partnership with Carter Vickers at the back. It's Scales towards Maeda, got the second goal, tries to roll away from his man, slips the ball through. Ida, sharp turn, left-footed shot straight at the goalkeeper. Celtic 2-0 up.
Fantastic sharpness from Celtic. Maeda every time he gets the ball, and it's just looking at Celtic when they get the ball at the back. it's always a case of Callum McGregor seems to understand what pace is needed. He controls games. In this game, they controlled it right at start, playing quick. 2 goals up now. Take it easy. Hold the ball. Decide when you want to go forward. Really intelligent play by McGregor.
The voice of Pat Nevin on BBC Radio 5 Live, and you'll be hearing Pat a lot throughout the summer as we are slowly but surely turning our attentions to Euro 2024 in Germany, with England and Scotland, of course, bound for the Euros, and Germany, of course, will get us all underway for that opening game, and you'll be hearing Pat on a regular basis through the month of June.
Looking forward to it, and it has to be said, I watched Aston Villa the other night, and every time John McGinn gets a wee injury, we panic.
Ball forward to this near side, kept in play by Maeda. He's done well. Taylor delivers an arcing first time cross in from the left corner of the area, and Darboe will get that ball away. Celtic are leading by 2-0. O'Reilly waiting for little tussle there as Watkins flicks it back. Kilmarnock lose the ball, and there is Carter Vickers just on the halfway line. Now with Scales once again, Pat.
Yeah, just looking at the 2 centre forwards for Kelly. You know, you're going to play 4-4-2 with Watkins and Vassell up front. They've got to have an effect, and at the moment they're having nothing, no effect whatsoever against, has to be said, what is becoming a very good partnership with Scales and Carter Vickers at the back there. But they must hold the ball up. It's not holding yet, it's not sticking yet, and because of that, Kelly are consistently under pressure.
And Celtic lead 2-0. Here is Hatate with his back to goal on the turn. Now with Carter Vickers outside the centre circle. Scales, utter control this for Celtic. Maeda makes that run, then it just bobbles for him. He gets a little shove in the back from Armstrong for good measure, but it goes out of play for a Kilmarnock throw.
Yeah, just looking at the bad conditions there, just as you looked away, the referee fell over. He's had a little bit of a snigger around the Great Stadium.
There's been a goal at Tottenham in the WSL, Sahel Sahi.
And it's gone to Chelsea. Tottenham 0, Chelsea 1 after 37 minutes. A break from the left-hand side. It was a ball that was fired into the far post, and Hermano was there. She missed an early effort from 7 yards away, but this time she converts. Chelsea are going to the top of the WSL. As it stands, they lead Tottenham by 1-0.
Level with Manchester City, and incidentally the final day of the WSL, we will have coverage for you in Saturday's 5 Live Sport as Johnston forward for Celtic, who lead 2-0. O'Reilly on this artificial surface, they get it out towards Forrest. It opens up for Forrest on his left foot, tries to place it just wide, flashes past that left-hand post and out for a goal kick as Celtic almost has had a third. Brighton Chelsea in the Premier League. Alistair Bruce ball.
8 minutes play, Brighton 0, Chelsea 0, chance at either end. Early shot from Noni Madueke, well saved by Bart Verbruggen. Conor Gallagher with an important header off the line, with Pascal Gross closing in. Cucurella and Moises Caicedo, the former Brighton men, being relentlessly booed by the home fans. Brighton 0, Chelsea 0.
And Manchester United, Newcastle United is underway at 8 o'clock. The regular updates from Lee Blakeman into 5 Live Sport here this evening. And of course the reaction, if we don't get it to you before 10:30, then there is always the 5 Live Football Daily Pod to give you all the reaction, where I'm sure we'll be hearing from the Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers. He'll be celebrating as his team lead here 2-0 for what will be his third title, but his first since, of course, he's returned to the club in the summer to replace Ange Postecoglou.
I think he'll be as happy with this opening spell as he has been with just about any game this season. You know, total domination of the play, chasing everything down, attitude perfect. Got the 2 goals as well. I do underline, said it before the start of the game, this is a tough place to come. So far, Celtic made it look easy.
Yeah. Free kick though for a foul on Darboe, and that will be a free kick to Kilmarnock, left of the centre circle. Certainly the veiled dig, although it wasn't very veiled in the end, was certainly directed, I think, to Chris Sutton, wasn't it, when he was accused of going through the motions earlier in the season.
I think it was just a wee throwaway line from Chris, wasn't it? It's one of those lines to wind up the the listeners wound up the manager.
Shot fired in by Donnelly, slipped as well, and stayed down inside the penalty area. Celtic get it away to Ida. Ida now coming forward for Celtic, looks towards Forrest. Forrest runs out towards that far side, keeps the ball in play as well. It certainly hit its mark, I think, as O'Reilly curls it in. And it was aimed towards Maida, but he was held off sufficiently well by some strong defending by Lewis Mayer.
Yeah, but you just cannot, if you're a defender at Kelly, you cannot go to sleep for a millisecond. The amount of third man runs that are going from all over the place, particularly Maida, who'll never ever stop. But it's every single Celtic player. And Ida, he's come on tonight, he's looked a handful, hasn't he? Really quick, as he talked about the physicality before as well. And he's given those two centre-back, decent Finlay, a really tough time.
His record at Norwich, 17 goals in 115 appearances, 8 goals now in not even 16 and a half since he arrived at Celtic. He has signed a new deal, incidentally, at Carrow Road until 2028, but there is talk now of making it a permanent move. They might have to spend somewhere in the region of £5 million in order to achieve that, but the Irish international has proved to be a decent acquisition since he arrived from East Anglia to the East End of Glasgow. 23 minutes played, Celtic lead 2-0. Both goals arrived in the opening 12 minutes. Hatate to O'Reilly. Hatate, O'Reilly, nice turn on the edge of the area, and then cleared away over on that far side. And now there's a chance for Marley Watkins to get it out from underneath his feet and run forward for Kilmarnock. Vassell is inside the penalty area and waiting. Watkins holds it up, plays the ball back. Donnelly works it out towards that far side. Cross comes in from the left, and the header from Vassell is off target, and it drops wide for a goal kick as Celtic still lead 2-0.
It's one of the best moves by Kilmarnock, but it's not been particularly sophisticated. But the hold-up play was the thing there. Eventually, finally, Vassell holds the ball up. And when you hold the ball up, him and Watkins, it gives your team a little bit of chance to push up, get a little bit of support up there as well. On this occasion, Kilmarnock managed to do that, get the cross in the box, couldn't make anything of it. But they need to do that more before half-time to get back into this game. If they don't, this game could be over by half-time.
I'll tell you who will be pleased with this scoreline. It looks like he's going to have a day off, because there's going to be no helicopter Sunday. I remember being at Fir Park for Helicopter Sunday in 2005 when Scott McDonald scored those 2 late goals for Motherwell on what was a very, very dramatic afternoon, as Watkins lays the ball back to Vassell. The ball is now played out wide to Kennedy, who shoots, and that's winded Carter Vickers. I mean, to be fair, the helicopter could have flown to the east end of Glasgow, and then the pilot could have still had the afternoon off, because even if Celtic would have lost tonight, their goal difference and 3 points clear of Rangers, it would have taken some swing on the final day. But they're on course for the title, leading 2-0.
I mean, if you're a real football fan and you deeply love your club, yes, you believe in them, but you can never take it for granted. You take nothing for granted. Weird things have happened, in end of seasons, but Celtic they just haven't made that look possible tonight, have they? Just total control of it. But that was that game last night. Dundee were 2-0 up, cruising. Didn't look as if it was a sniff of the game. Rangers getting back in the game. They won 5-2 and looked superb by the end. Weird things can happen in football, but this is looking like a very long shot indeed.
And yet, watching that game in the rain at Ibrox, as soon as Rangers got the first goal back before the break to make it 2-1, I then thought Rangers will go on and win this.
Yeah, and it is that psychology of that is such an important moment, because if you go in and you need to score 3 goals, but if you know you only need to score 2 at home, it's totally different.
Well, certainly it's a contrast in terms of the weather here in Ayrshire for what is a mild, dry evening. As Celtic, there'll be nothing dry about tonight, I'm sure. There'll be champagne flowing as they are well on course for the title, leading 2-0, and those Celtic supporters behind the goal, boy, they know it. Here is Scales, he's going to let one fly! He caught that as well, left-footed. Took a touch on its way through, just over the top of the crossbar. That would have been a spectacular goal, 25 yards out, left-footed. It's gone behind for a corner.
I think it's a great save. I think that's gone under the crossbar there. Keeper just flicked it up, and then Celtic have taken a quick corner.
Corner taken short, work to Hatate just outside the D, tries to place it left-footed, off-target goal kick. Celtic lead 2-0.
Just now and again you see a player like that, you know, they just blossom. You know, they're a decent player, they're okay, it's going well, you wonder. And just watching the last wee while at Liam Scales, he's blossomed so fabulously, you know, he's so comfortable on the ball. You know, and you look at Carter Vickers, who was always the main man, the one who attacked everything. Every time Celtic get the ball at the back, they give it to Scales. He comes out with it with such comfort. And we stood onto that, walked onto that goal there. That would have summed up something that the only thing he's not got in his game at the moment, apart from control, tackling, good in the air, walking forward and scoring the odd goal is the last thing he needs to add.
So bearing in mind that he had that Aberdeen loan spell last year, Postecoglou clearly didn't fancy him. The change of manager has worked in his favour.
Yes, it does, but I would also say something else. And centre-backs often say this, they're usually, most of the time, not cooked until they're about 24, 25. It just takes that bit longer. They're not allowed to make mistakes. They make a mistake, they're dead, right? They've lost a goal. So there's a lot to learn in that position, and you have a look through the Premier League, how many players, you're talking Jared Brantford and just about nobody else who's that good, that young. So to actually get through, the very best of them only come into their own about 24, 25.
That's the expert opinion of Pat Nevin here at Rugby Park as we approach the half hour, as McGregor is forward and he slides it to Maeda, who then slips as he sends over what was a weak cross in the end from the left, and gathered in by Kieran O'Hara, who began at Manchester United, never made any appearances during his time at Old Trafford. His last appearance this season, incidentally, was back in January against Hibs. Only 4 appearances before today. 6'3", tall, imposing, short, dark hair. Was on loan at Colchester last season. But maybe Derek McInnes, bearing in mind that Will Dennis is on loan from Bournemouth, is looking with an eye for next season, as Derek McInnes looks to build on what has been an excellent season for Kilmarnock, given the fact that this is their second campaign back in the top flight. He joined in January 2022, got them promoted from the Championship, and has already achieved European qualification, looking to build on the fine work in more recent seasons from the Scotland manager Steve Clarke, who did an exceptional job during his time here at Rugby Park, 5 years ago. Kilmarnock trailing 2-0. Donnelly, it's caught Hatate. Carter Vickers reacts to Donnelly, who pushes back at the Celtic central defender. This will be checked.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely yellow, minimum yellow, right? At the Celtic Rangers game last week, first look at the tackle that game, I thought, well, yellow, that's looks like a rough one. Seen it a second time, thought that's a definite 100% red, so we shall wait to see. I mean, he's dived in there, I mean, he's thrown his body, he's out of control. He's caught him in the foot, not quite so bad as the one in the Rangers game, so they will have a look at it.
He didn't appear to be over the top though, did he?
No, it wasn't high, nowhere near as high, so my suspicion is the referee will stick with yellow for that.
Well, the midfielder Donnelly is booked for Kilmarnock. To the Amex Stadium, Alistair Bruce ball.
Brighton 0, Chelsea 0. Chelsea thought they had a penalty. Michael Salisbury pointed to the spot. Cucurella was challenged by Facundo Buonanotte as he darted down the byline. Cole Palmer was all ready to go to take it for Chelsea. Then VAR intervened. It looked like Buonanotte got the faintest of touches on the ball as he was making the challenge. No penalty. Brighton 0, Chelsea 0.
Greg Aitken is the VAR official here for this game tonight between Kilmarnock and Celtic. Hatate is back on his feet.
Well, it's given him time to have a good look at it as well. No, Hatate did get caught. It was on his foot, you know, and it was that low, and the foot was on the ground. So it's not one of those where it's studs high up over the ankle sort of stuff. So Donnelly has to be careful. When you're, reckless, he was definitely going for the ball. I don't think there's any argument about that. But he didn't get it. He got Hatate. Yellow card.
Yellow card, and that's how it stands. Play underway now at Old Trafford. Lee Blakeman.
And Newcastle have had an early chance. Isak cutting in from the right on his left foot, took the ball to the edge of the area, caught it well enough, but it went wide of Onana's right hand post. Newcastle starting the brighter of the two teams. Here they come on the attack again with Gordon into the area. He's dispossessed. Manchester United 0, Newcastle 0.
Certainly, when you consider the European qualification, what could be at stake depending on what happens in the cup final. Chelsea 7th, 3 straight wins. That's 8th against 6th. Manchester United against Newcastle. There is a possibility that 7th could open itself up into European football for next season. Kilmarnock will be entering the Europa League in the second qualifying round as a result of finishing 4th in the Scottish Premiership this season, as the cross from the left is headed out by Carter Vickers. Celtic lead by 2-0, and the reward for being the champions means a place in the Champions League group stages for the new format, of course, next season, the extended group stages, as Vassell gets round the back on that far side, the left for Kilmarnock, trailing by 2-0. Cross gathered in, Daniel Armstrong, right corner of the area, plays it back in field. This is with Mayo, who then gets the ball back, the right back along the ground, out towards this near side for Daniel Armstrong.
Good defending there wasn't by Celtic. They got themselves in a position where I thought, right, okay, we need to get it right. We'll make sure that they put in a cross from very, very deep. They got themselves in a control position. They're getting through a Kilmarnock defence very easily. You know, 1-2s, running at interesting positions. Kilmarnock's limitations at the moment are get out of the way and try and knock in the box, and the quality of crosses hasn't been anywhere near good enough for the team in blue tonight.
Yeah, they're missing a Pat Nevin of a 97-98 maybe.
Well, the year before I came to win the Scottish Cup, so maybe I just ruined it for them.
Hatate showing no ill effects of that challenge that he was clattered into earlier by Donnelly. Ida plays it out to Maeda on this near side, the left. They've doubled up on him. Taylor making the run on the inside from left back. Maeda still going. The return ball to Maeda on the stretch, and in the end it was David Watson who's just clattered the ball out of play for a throw. Celtic are clearly the better side here as 11 minutes to go to half time.
And the other thing is, considering the amount of titles that Celtic have won, you know, one in the last 12 or 13 have not won, right? They look hungry, don't they? They look really hungry. And it's the easiest thing to say that, but if you're winning year in, year out, year in, year out, it's hard to keep hungry. But they are. They want this one as much as the first one they won all those years ago.
Well, in fact, there is certainly history in that respect, as Maeda delivers a low ball in. Forrest is there! Easy as you like for Celtic. 3 goals and a third successive title now is surely guaranteed. Brilliant play on the left-hand side. Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 3.
Well, it's lovely for Forrest, and finally Brendan Rodgers down there allows himself a huge grin. That's the one. That is the goal that's done it for him. You cannot see Kilmarnock coming back from that. You know, 2-1 if they could got it to that before half-time. And the fact that it's James Forrest, you know, for how long he's been at Celtic Park, how many trophies he's got, how many medals he's got, and the fact that he's looking evergreen this time when he's come back into the team, really fantastic. And the one thing you would say about Celtic's 3 goals, they're all almost identical.
Yes.
Get to the byline, cut back, and the ease in which they've got by this, the Kilmarnock fullbacks, one side and the other, is just not acceptable at this level.
Well, you talk about his titles. He will now be looking at what is a 12th title in his Celtic career for the 32-year-old, who is fast approaching 500 appearances for the club. He has been a wonderful servant since he made his debut, a goal-scoring debut incidentally 14 years ago. And Celtic, job done 10 minutes before half-time, leading by 3-0. And such was the din being created by the travelling Celtic support away towards our left. I was told I had to go somewhere, and I couldn't even hear where it was, but it was Tottenham in the WSL and Sahel Sahi.
Half time here, Ian. Tottenham 0, Chelsea 1. Chelsea on top, and deservedly so. The goal coming 8 minutes before half time. Forceful run and cross by Guru Wrighton, met by a sliding finish from Maika Hamano. Chelsea, they've had 5 efforts which were all saved before they scored, and Tottenham, they look dangerous on the counter-attack. The points are not banked yet for Chelsea. Half time here, Tottenham 0, Chelsea 1.
I was just going to talk about the history between the two, and in fact history could be repeating itself, because in 2012 Celtic won here 6-0 under Neil Lennon to clinch the title. It was their first title since 2008. They donned t-shirts that day that said, "This is just the beginning." Well, this will now be a 12th title in 13 years since 2012. It tells you everything about their dominance.
Rather prophetic. Yeah, and it has looked good, this one. I mean, Celtic had weak points during this season, but tactically, Brendan Rodgers has got it right a lot of the time, and it's certainly a different style from Ange Postecoglou's, using the best of his style and adding something else on top of it. It's been very good.
O'Reilly with a shot just on the edge of the area, blocked. Celtic lead 3-0. There'd been another green smoke bomb that set off, so there's still that faint green smoke, a little haze in that penalty area away towards our left, with just over 7 minutes remaining. There might only be 3,800 travelling support, but they're making all the noise in that away end in the Chadwick stand here at Rugby Park. This has been an extremely convincing performance from Celtic as we edge our way towards half-time, Pat.
There might have only been 3,000-4,000, whatever, up there. They could have sold 50,000 Celtic supporters tickets tonight without a shadow of a doubt. Every Celtic fan loved to have been here.
Watkins makes the run into the inside right channel of the area. Carter Vickers with a header away, cleared further by McGregor towards Forrest. McInnes, the Kilmarnock manager, turns away in frustration. Johnston tried to be closed down. There is McGregor, a reassuring presence in the midfield. And then the ball is hit long by the Canadian international, Alistair Johnson. And he looks to get Eder away, and Eder is now away. He looks for some support, he might go it alone. Eder steadies himself. And the keeper got a hand onto that, and it's behind for a corner kick. Celtic almost had a fourth.
Yeah, it's a fantastic save, isn't it? But really poor defending. Again, look, Kilmarnock have got a massive problem. We'll explain that in a minute. Just going to have a look at that save, and it is a great left hand, really strong hand there. What Kilmarnock seem to have just now is 4 defenders across the back line, but all 4 of them play like centre backs. As a winger, see if a centre backs, but they don't know how to do it. They can't play it, they don't understand the positions, and Celtic make good use of that.
In comes the corner kick, and up from the back with Scales. Last touch came off a Killie player. It'll be another corner kick in front of the celebrating Celtic support with 6 minutes to go to half-time.
He's not a regular scorer, Scales, but it looks as if he fancies a goal tonight, doesn't it?
Just the one goal. He was almost on the end of that other corner kick. The acrobatics from Carter Vickers. Scales had a swing of that as well. Hasn't been dealt with. McGregor with a left-footed shot charged down. Carter Vickers heads it forward, and Vassell eventually powerfully heads the ball away for Kilmarnock. But it's Celtic totally on top.
Yeah, and the Celtic fans, they're behind the goal that Celtic are attacking just now, so that just adds to it as well. They're loving every second of it, but they don't think 3's enough. They want to celebrate all night. They want as many goals as possible, and the way they're playing just now, they could get any number.
Here is Eder out to O'Reilly. Good running forward, and it's with Johnston, who turns with his side onto goal and then volleyed away by Armstrong for Kilmarnock inside his own penalty area. Let's go to Old Trafford. Lee Blakeman.
First real chance for Manchester United. It's 0-0. A Fernandez free kick swung in, cleared to the edge of the area. Amrabat headed it back in. Casemiro tried an overhead kick which looked brilliant, went just over the crossbar. Good game this. Manchester United 0, Newcastle 0.
We've got just under 5 minutes to go to half time. We're looking forward to our treat, hopefully at the break, for one of the highlights for whenever you're visiting Rugby Park. And I bet they don't do a pie to match that we're going to be having at half time at the Amex, Alistair Bruce Ball.
Pie and mash before the game, Ian, which was very much enjoyed. 28 minutes gone in the first half. Brighton 0, Chelsea 0. Chelsea thought they had a penalty. Michael Salisbury was sent to the screen, spotted a touch from Bonanotte in the tackle on Cucurella, so no penalty there. A couple of chances since then. Enciso heading high and wide for Brighton, and Verbruggen saving well from Malagusta. Brighton 0, Chelsea 0.
O'Reilly's had a placed effort that was a rather tame effort in the end, and it was straight at the Kilmarnock goalkeeper O'Hara. My first visit here was 23 years ago. I was working with the great Billy McNeil. And not only do I remember fondly my time with Billy, I did 2 games with him 23 years ago, but the other fond memory was of the Killie pie.
Yep, and it's not got any worse. In fact, they've added more flavours, curry flavour as well.
I don't think I'm being greedy if I confess that I had one before the game, that I could look forward to another one at half time.
I was told some, no doubt people will write in and let me know, but a huge thing in Scotland is macaroni cheese pies. I don't know if you get them. Do you get them so much in England?
No,
you don't. It's a huge thing in Scotland.
yeah.
Well, you can get one downstairs, so that's all you need now is to get a killie pie, which is a normal mince pie, and then you get a curry one and also macaroni and cheese. That should get you home tonight.
Yeah, not too sure what the combo would be like if for a Celtic fan if you're having a glass of champagne with a killie pie. That might be an acquired taste, but nevertheless, let them bring it on. Let them bring it up here at half-time. I'm salivating at the very prospect. Celtic lead 3-0. BBC Radio 5 Live. All the goals from close range. Ida, Maeda and Forrest. And the way that Celtic are playing, you wouldn't rule out more goals either, because there's, talking of which, and this is forgive me the pun, there's a hunger about Celtic tonight.
Absolutely. And I think they want to finish the season confidently. They want to get the fans enjoying it. Certainly Brendan Rodgers knows that Ange Postecoglou before him was so loved for the attacking style, but he would like to be known for exactly the same thing. Well, exactly the same, attitude, not just exactly the same style, but the attitude is go forward. And I've often said that about Celtic, and as a youngster, as an S-form there myself, it was always sort of constantly said to you, not only you win in style, and you win with as many goals as possible. And there was a phrase they always used, which was score an early goal and press on regardless. And that's what they played like tonight.
Certainly is. Goal after 5 minutes. Second one arrived 7 minutes later, and they've since added a third. As the Celtic fans at the very front of the Chadwick stand away towards our left are bouncing up and down in unison. The green and white flags are flying, and they will be ready to party ahead of the trophy lift at home to St Mirren on Saturday afternoon. Brendan Rodgers will be very, very content.
I suppose at this point in time, before you say that, at this point in time he might actually allow his mind to wander. The Scottish Cup game coming up, and you're playing on, albeit 5G, it's a plastic pitch. There are certain players that, their bodies don't like that. I mean, I look at someone like James Forrest. Do you want to keep on taking chances with him as the game goes on, or would you rather give him a rest to make sure he's right for A, the weekend, but B, the big game against Rangers at Hampden Park? So those are the things that, as I say that, I look down at Brendan, and he's got his assistant there. That's John Kennedy, I think. Possibly saying precisely that.
Yes. Yeah, that's coming up, the Old Firm at Hampden for the Scottish Cup final. A week on Saturday, as they would be looking for the possibility of a 13th League and Cup double. And Postecoglou last year with the treble for what was an 8th treble for Celtic, when they've had 5 trebles in the previous 7 seasons. So they really have, that underlines the dominance, and there was no chance of a slip up tonight given the way that they started the game, and the professionalism haven't allowed Kilmarnock back into the game, not even a sniff. 3 minutes of added on time, which we're now into here on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds, with Celtic leading 3-0, and McGregor able to trot forward over the halfway line, passes the ball out to Taylor. There's the cry of Championes, Championes from the Celtic supporters. O'Reilly, Hatate side onto goal outside the area. Johnston feeds it forward. Hatate able to turn. They've walked it in almost. There was Ida. Johnston keeps it alive, and then it's scooped away by Mayo inside the penalty area. Almost a fourth.
I don't like to say it's too easy, because that takes away from the skill, but time and time again getting to that byline, it's not allowed to be that easy against teams that will score.
Hatate with a shot charged down. Thing is, though, it could easily have been 4.
Yeah, I mean, time and time again you're getting there, and if you're Kelly, what do? At half time you're going to go in there and think, well, we're playing 4-4-2. Are you that? Do you take one of your strikers off and try and kill it a little bit, but you want to win, you want to get back in it? Tough one for Derek McGuinness.
Stoppage time then here at Rugby Park, a goal at the Amex. Alistair Bruce ball.
Chelsea chasing European qualification have got themselves in front. Guess who? Cole Palmer, 25th goal of the season. All sorts of different goals as well. This one, a brilliant guided header. Kukurea down to the byline on the left with the cut back aerially, and Cole Palmer with a sort of lofted, floated header, cleverly dipping over the goalkeeper for Bruggen. Brighton 0, Chelsea 1. What a player.
What a season he's had, Cole Palmer.
The only thing that surprised me about it is happened so quick. I'm not surprised it's happened. From watching when he's time with Manchester City, he is an absolute world-class player. I was going to say in the making. Just scrap that, in the making. He's a world-class player. Brilliant, and sure he's not getting his Scottish blood in him.
But given the fact that it's still Manchester United 0, Newcastle 0, a fourth straight win for Chelsea, if it was to stay level at Old Trafford, would take your former club sixth into the table, finishing strongly.
And it's incredible the belief that's actually come in within the team. And one of the things you talk about them is that youth. And it can be your downfall a lot of the time, because, you do a lot of things that are naive. You need to learn the game. But then you've got that other thing where you've got the energy. You've got that willingness to run for everything. And, players that can't, Cole Palmer, Jackson, Madueke, certainly Gallagher. Wow, the way they get about the pitch and the pace has been fantastic this last quarter of the season.
Remember, if Manchester United were to win the FA Cup and finish outside the top six, which looks extremely likely, 7th place then would not mean European qualification for that team in the Premier League. Kilmarnock, who when they finished 3rd 5 years ago under Steve Clarke, their highest place finish since 1966, and brought back European football to Rugby Park for the first time since 2001, can look forward to Europe for next season. But Celtic are looking at the Champions League group stages, because they are on their way to a 3rd successive title as the half-time whistle is sounded, and they lead by 3-0. Pat Nevin.
And they do lead, and they have cruised it, but not cruised it, taking it easy. I mean, they have been so far ahead, but in every single department of the game so far. But it's not because they're playing a poor team, it's because they are playing exactly the right way. The hunger's been perfect, they chase the ball, the quality players have done the right things, and the manager's got the tactics absolutely spot on. When you're playing against a team of basically centre-backs playing at full-back, that's the weakness. 1-2s around them, get to the byline, and it's already provided 3 goals, and there could be more.
And those goals for Eder after 5 minutes, Maeda after 12, and then Forrest 10 minutes before half-time means a half-time score here at Rugby Park of Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 3.
In many ways, Pat, just on that last point, it's a surprise more teams don't try and exploit sides that play 4 centre-backs with 2 of them as full-backs more often.
Well, you think about it, we've watched teams, Arsenal have done that, haven't they? We've watched them doing that. And
City have done it.
Exactly. So, but look at the full-backs. If you say someone like, say, Nathan Ake off the top of my head, he's kind of centre-back, but he can play left-back. He's not one of those more lumping, if I dare use that phrase, centre-backs, but he's more mobile than that, and there is a difference between an old-school centre-back who's fairly direct, up and down, doesn't really like to get dragged out wide, and a kind of more modern one. So you stick someone like him or Gvardiol, because Gvardiol's a centre-back, but he's got other things to his ball. But remember, you're talking about the absolute elite here. Other teams below that level who put 4 centre-backs across the back, that's the way you get around them.
I thought when you said lumpen, you were going back to the pie conversation. Is he on his first one yet, or is he waiting till
they haven't arrived yet? Don't worry.
Have they not?
I've just got a little bit of a mop here. He's way popped that kind of below his chin.
Listen, if I don't get a pie at half-time, I'm going on strike for the second half.
Okay. And that would be your second of the evening, just to clarify.
Well, I did arrive quite early in Ayrshire today, and I felt that I was feeling a little bit peckish.
Right.
And I thought, well, I can't take that chance in case I don't get one at half-time, so I actually treated the team to a pie.
I'll give him that. He did. Right. We all got one. I get my macaroni cheese one.
Excellent.
I'm a generous man, Mark.
You are a generous man. I mean, there's a slight ulterior motive there to make sure you got your own, but there is a generosity to you as well. It's a bit like what we said pre-match, just as regards Celtic, Pat, isn't it? Which is, after the win against Rangers on Saturday, they come here just with a different air about them compared to maybe previous visits this season.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the danger's out of it. I mean, you know that you can go and play today and think, well, if we lose, we lose. We've got a home game at the weekend. We can win it there. And sometimes you don't relax when you do that and play in a relaxed way. It just frees you. And Celtic look like a team that have been freed today, and everybody wants the ball. Everyone wants to go forward. Third man runners from everywhere on the pitch. So, the freedom they've got from, knocking Rangers down to where they knocked them down and realising that they have, because very recently, 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was absolutely, completely in the balance. You didn't know where it's going. This is the first time you've seen clear blue water, or should that be green water, between the teams. And with that, Celtic just have breathed out and done what they do best. And it's actually been a joy to watch the way they've seen these conditions, understood the way to play in them, and did it perfectly.
4 other games in the Scottish Premiership tonight. The other game in the top half, St Mirren 1, Hearts 1. In the bottom, and these are all 7:45 kickoffs, so they've got just over 5 minutes to go to half time. In the bottom half, Aberdeen 0, Livingston 0, Hibs 0, Motherwell 0. But the big game is St Johnstone against Ross County, and Ross County lead there by 1-0. If Ross County win that, it would confirm St Johnstone in the relegation playoff position at the end of the season. There's one game in the playoffs in Scotland tonight, and this is for the battle to have a championship place next season, and that is currently Hamilton 1, Inverness 0. That's the first leg. They're 20 minutes into that game. Games in the Scottish Women's Premier League as well. In the bottom half, Aberdeen 1, Dundee United 1. That's half time. Motherwell 1, Hamilton 1. Midway through the first half. 2 games have finished. Hearts 1, Celtic 3, Hibs 2, Rangers 3. Rangers and Celtic continue to be level on points at the top of the table. Midway through the first half between Partick Thistle and Glasgow City. And that is goalless. Into the Premier League, approaching 5 minutes or so to go to half-time at the Amex. The visitors lead. Alistair Bruce Ball.
Yeah, Brighton 0, Chelsea 1. There will be a bit of added time at the end of this first half as well, Mark. We've just had a few minutes stoppage. Mikhailo Mudryk off the ball, accidentally turned and just ran straight into the shoulder of Tariq Lamptey. He was down for a few minutes, he's come off, and I don't think he's coming back on. I think he's too groggy. He's taken a whack to the head. Christopher Nkunku is waiting to come on for Chelsea. This one, of course, all about Chelsea chasing European qualification as it stands at the moment, with them winning and Manchester United and Newcastle still level. That takes Chelsea above Newcastle into 6th spot. And I don't know if you've seen the goal, Mark, the Cole Palmer header, but just another one to add to his fabulous collection this season. A brilliantly improvised finish. Cucurella got away down the left. Palmer makes the run into the near post, but he has to sort of stoop. But he can't just put his head on it. He's got to sort of try and loft the header over Verbruggen, and you can see that he deliberately tries to do that, and he pulls it off. It's a fabulous goal. Brighton 0, Chelsea 1.
And as Ali has said, it's goalless at Old Trafford. Lee Blakeman.
Manchester United 0, Newcastle 0, but Manchester United really starting to rack up the chances now. They have got a corner here about to be taken by Bruno Fernandes. Stretford end, swung in towards the near post. It might fall here for a United player, edge of the area, over the bar, but we've just seen a Wan-Bissaka cross met by the head of McTominay go straight at Dubravka. Dubravka then called upon again a few minutes later to save an Ahmad shot from range before Garnacho shot wide from the edge of the area and then forced Dubravka to save one from close range with his legs. Plenty of chances, lively game, no goals. Manchester United 0, Newcastle 0.
As things stand, Chelsea on top of the Women's Super League with 1 game to play. Sahel Sahi.
Yes, they are, Mark. We've played 5 minutes of the second half. It's still Tottenham 0, Chelsea 1. Maika Hamano with the goal in the first half with 8 minutes to play of that first 45 minutes. They've started the second half slowly. They've got to defend this corner, which Tottenham will be taking any second now. But they do lead here at Brisbane Road in East London against Tottenham by 1-0.
At 8:28, Lisa McCormick has the news.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The Prime Minister of Slovakia is said to be fighting for his life after he was shot at a news conference outside the hospital where Robert Fico has been treated. The Slovak Defence Minister Robert Kalinac said the authorities suspect the attack is politically motivated. Here's the former Slovak Prime Minister Edward Hegar.
The polarisation is visible in Slovakia, but I see it also around the developed world. and we see how far it can go if polarization is growing. Because the politics is about bringing solutions for people and for a better life. It's not about growing aggressivity or violence. Politicians are here to serve people. They should never be a subject of aggression or an attack.
The Home Office is expanding its Rwanda deportation scheme to cover failed asylum seekers. Under the original plan, only people who arrived in the UK on or after the 1st of January 2022 could be deemed eligible to be deported. Failed asylum seekers are also eligible for a voluntary scheme launched last month, where they're offered up to £3,000 to move to the East African country. Ukraine's pulled its troops back from several villages in the border region of Kharkiv after continued pressure from Russian forces. President Zelensky's also cancelled all of his upcoming foreign trips. And President Biden will face Donald Trump next month in the first televised debate of the US presidential election. CNN's confirmed it'll take place on the 27th of June.
From the boxing greats.
We're very fragile beings, so we ought to be gentle with ourselves.
To the ring's current superstars.
I want to take their soul and I just want to get the job done and walk out.
Plus analysis and previews.
Well, the whole build-up was being madness and the fight was a little bit mad as well.
Everything boxing, every single week, crammed into just one weekly podcast.
I won my first national title at 16. And I was burnt out by the time I was 28.
5 Live Boxing with me, Steve Bunce.
Job done. What's next?
With new episodes every week. Listen on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport with Mark Chapman.
On 5 Live. Listen on BBC Sounds.
Celtic on their way to the Scottish Premiership title this evening. They lead by 3-0 at Kilmarnock. Let's just talk about the golf. Second men's major gets underway tomorrow at Valhalla in Kentucky. That's the PGA Championship. Rory McIlroy won the Wells Fargo on Sunday on the PGA Tour. He's held a pre-tournament press conference today, and Ian Carter, he's had a difficult few days off the course, hasn't he?
Yeah, turbulent might be the word, which is potentially applicable to the unsettled weather forecast for the championship. But McIlroy has made the headlines, hasn't he, Mark, with the news that he filed for divorce on Monday. The papers going in then. Today, his news conference took place with a warning that he wouldn't be discussing his private life. It was very short. He did look nervous, I thought, and he tersely replied, "I'm ready to play," when he was asked how he is. That was as close as we got to the situation in his private life. He was happiest really discussing his recent form, understandably so. That win in the Zurich Classic with Shane Lowry, followed by a glorious performance at Quail Hollow at the Wells Fargo last Sunday. It really was McIlroy of old as he landed that title in such convincing fashion. Can he take that form into this week is the big question.
More with Ian in just a second. Goal at Old Trafford. Lee Blakeman.
Manchester United 1, Newcastle 0. Kobbie Mainoo's got it. It was a good move down the right. Fell to Mainoo inside the area. He looked offside. He was in so much space. Nobody anywhere near him. Flag stays down. Looking at the replay, it looks like it's the right decision too. Kobbie Mainoo won the score sheet. Manchester United 1, Newcastle 0.
Let's go back to Ian Carter. We're talking about Rory McIlroy ahead of the PGA tomorrow. I mean, he's got everything going on personally, and he's still having to talk about everything off the course as well, isn't he?
Yes, he is, and that was the most newsworthy aspect really of his news conference today, because it regarded the recent resignation from the PGA Tour's policy board, Jimmy Dunn. Now, the American businessman was a key architect in the framework agreement with Saudi Arabia last year. Those negotiations are stalled. Remember, Saudi Arabia backed the rival Live Tour, and Dunn resigned, saying that frankly, he feels he has no voice left when arguing what the tour should be done. It's just not being heard, he feels, by what is a player-dominated board. And McIlroy says his departure is a big blow.
Honestly, I think it's a huge loss for the PGA Tour if they're trying to get this deal done with the PIF and trying to unify the game. You know, Jimmy was basically the relationship, the sort of conduit between the PGA Tour and PIF, and you know, it's been really unfortunate that he hasn't been involved for the last few months, and I think part of the reason that everything is stalling at the minute is because of that. So It is. It's really, really disappointing, and I think the tour is in a worse place because of it. So we'll see where it goes from here, and we'll see what happens. But I would say my confidence level on something getting done before last week was, as low as it had been. And then, with this news of Jimmy resigning and knowing the relationship he has with the other side and how much warmth there is from the other side, it's concerning.
He's tried, hasn't he, in the past, over the last year, maybe to stay away from the politics, and now he's being dragged into it again, Ian.
Yeah, he resigned from the policy board because, like Jimmy Dunn, McIlroy felt that his voice wasn't being heard. He said it was like banging his head against a brick wall. There's a feeling that there's a very American-centric core of players, Tiger Woods, Patrick Cantlay, Jordan Spieth. Spieth disputes this, but that they are blocking what the administrators feel is an essential deal with Saudi Arabia. McIlroy tried to come back onto the board. That was rejected by the board. He's got a bit of a role in a transaction committee, but honestly, I think it was very, very strong today on the Jimmy Dunn resignation, and it just illustrates what a huge mess this whole thing is turning into. And it does sound, from what he's saying, that the PGA Tour is just getting into a weaker and weaker position with each development that comes along.
Just moving away from this, and obviously you're getting ready for the second men's major, but the other big story that's doing the rounds is the next US Ryder Cup captain. Lots of people have been talking about Tiger Woods for Bethpage in 2025. Now some doubts about that?
Yeah, I think so. There have been talks with Woods and the PGA of America, who look after the US side of the Ryder Cup, but they haven't come to any kind of fruition at the moment. And I think it was very telling that Woods said, look, I've got so much on my plate at the moment trying to sort out the PGA Tour mess. It might not be that I will have the time and the energy to be able to do the job properly. So I think the odds on him being the next American Ryder Cup captain have lengthened. I still think there's a decent chance that he will be the captain at Bethpage, but it's by no means guaranteed. And so that's another area of uncertainty. The PGA of America today saying, look, we're in no hurry. Luke Donald was appointed at a pretty late stage for Europe for the last match, and they did pretty well. So there's no panic at this stage, but as I say, the odds on Woods being that captain, I think they've lengthened a little this week.
Okay, Ian, thank you very much. Our coverage of the USPGA starts tomorrow. Full commentary of the third and fourth rounds from 8 o'clock on Sports Extra on Saturday and Sunday, also on 5 Live from 9 o'clock on Sunday. Disallowed goal at the Amex, Alistair Bruce Ball.
Yes, we're playing 9 minutes of added time at the moment. Nicholas Jackson headed in at the far post from a Benoit Badia Shield cross. He was adjudged, though, by VAR just to have given a little push on Tariq Lamptey at the far post to sort of knock him out of his position to be able to get into position himself at the back post to head home. I mean, Lamptey's not the tallest, as you know, Mark, so whether he actually needed to do that or not. But quite rightly, goal didn't stand. Brighton 0, Chelsea 1, and Mikhailo Mudryk went off as a concussion substitution made by Chelsea. So he ran into Tariq Lamptey's shoulder. He's been replaced by Christopher Nkunku. Brighton 0, Chelsea 1.
So I'll go back to Old Trafford, where Newcastle have just had a shot cleared off, header cleared off the line by Casemiro, but I mean, I've only seen this once, maybe twice, Lee Blakeman, but I think they've had a good case for a penalty there, Newcastle.
Casemiro going in just before that on Gordon. I've seen it a couple of times. Casemiro just about got the ball.
Do you not think Amrabat trips him?
Well, we looked here and
first, and that's what it looked like. Just on one glance, it looked to me like he was tripped before Casemiro got the ball, but
the cameras focused mainly on the 3 replays that I've seen on the follow-up, Casemiro going through. Nothing given for that, but VAR did have a look at the whole incident. But Casemiro, can I just highlight very quickly, is having a blinder of a game, because just after that tackle, whether it was a penalty or not, he was perfectly placed to head that chance off the line, because it was a whisker away from being fully over. He's having a good game tonight following criticism at the weekend. Still Manchester United 1, Newcastle 0, just about, Mark.
Let's go back to Kilmarnock then, where Celtic are going to enjoy themselves for the next 45 minutes. Pat Nevin and a refreshed and sustained Ian Dennis.
Very much so, yes, and no need to go on strike. as the game is already back underway for the second half. They're refreshed after a delightful Killy Pie here at Rugby Park. A content commentary team, I think it's fair to say. As content as Brendan Rodgers will be as he looks forward to another title as Celtic manager. Celtic are already on the attack and the ball looking to get round the back towards Maeda, and they win a corner kick. Kilmarnock have made a change, by the way. Joe Wright has replaced Ndaba at left back, so O'Hara, Mayo, Dees, Findlay and Wright the defence. Kennedy, Watson, Donnelly, Armstrong the midfield. Vassell and Watkins up front. And for Celtic in their green and white hoop shirts, Joe Harding goal, Johnston, Carter Vickers, Scales and Taylor the defence, Hatate, O'Reilly, McGregor the midfield, Forrest, Ida and Maeda the front three, as the corner from that far side the left, as Celtic play from left to right, was attempted to be swept in by Scales. They will break now with Armstrong on that far side, Kilmarnock, and Armstrong's done well, plays the ball forward now for the runner through the middle, as eventually that was cut out and it will go out of play for a throw to Kilmarnock, who can have no complaints. Celtic totally dominant in that first half, Pat.
Absolutely, played very well. The weakness is there. Derek McInnes has made the change in that area, which was very, very clear. Needed a change. A chance for Kilmarnock,
and it's flashed wide from Matty Kennedy. He hit it right-footed on the volley. Notice as well that Liam Polworth is on the field of play, so they must have made another change.
They weren't making it obvious, were they?
No, they weren't at all.
No, they did not show the numbers.
It smuggled that one through. So Polworth is on. We'll bring you confirmation of that second change for Kilmarnock, who are attacking the away end here at Rugby Park. It's a corner that is taken short. McGregor dropped to his knees. They were appealing for handball there against the Celtic captain. Comes out then to Armstrong, plays it in right-footed. Idar is back there helping out, and he's headed the ball forward, and then the referee, who is Don Robertson, has given a free kick in favour of Celtic, and I think the yellow card has been shown to Robbie Dees.
Yeah, I don't know how much he knew about it, to be honest. He was watching the ball, and it's a sore one again. And that's it. Do you know what? They might have a wee look at that handball. McGregor's gone down, he's laughing away at it. It bounced just in front of me, tried to header it. He's kind of missed it, and it's if it's actually touched it with his head, but it certainly had his hand a little bit in the box.
Incidentally, it's Vassell who's gone off the field of play, so Polworth has come on for Vassell, so that's confirmation of the second change that Kilmarnock have made. Means that Marley Watkins is going to have to lead the line now in the absence of Vassell, who, in case you were wondering, is a distant relative of Darius Vassell, as Ida into the penalty area, picked up by the goalkeeper at his near post, O'Hara. Alistair Bruce Ball at the Amex.
Yeah, half-time after 9 minutes of added time. Brighton 0, Chelsea 1. Cole Palmer's cleverly guided header was the goal for Chelsea. Nicholas Jackson header ruled out for a push on Tariq Lamptey. And then João Pedro powering a header against the bar just before the half-time whistle. Brighton 0, Chelsea 1.
Thank you, Ali. Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 3. 5 minutes into the second half. There is an eagerness about Kilmarnock since the restart.
Yeah, it just wasn't working the way they were doing it before. I asked a question just before half-time, do you want to leave two strikers up front? Well, he's kind of left two up front to some degree, because Watson's moved a little bit further forward to up front there, and obviously they had to make a change of the kind of full-back, central back areas. They've tried to do that. We'll see if it works.
Celtic 3-0 with all the goals in the first half. Armstrong over on that far side, comes out to O'Reilly. He caught that from distance. He must have been a good 25 yards out. He hit it left-footed. It was arcing its way away from the goal of Kieran O'Hara, but O'Hara had to get something on it and made the save.
He has got such a languid way about him, hasn't he, O'Reilly? And I've seen one or two players over the years like him, but he's always in control and always cool.
Corner is taken short, and it's over the head of a stretching Maeda. Hatate on the volley. Comes back out towards O'Reilly. Oh, what a super goal! Absolutely a super goal from O'Reilly. left-footed, 6 minutes into the second half, clipped the underside of the crossbar. Celtic champions again, and doing it in some style.
Almost exactly the same spot he scored against Rangers from, just outside the area on the right hand side. He's had a little sighter beforehand, but just seeing how languid he looks. Well, that ball wasn't hitting a languid way, was it? It was launched into the top corner, but then he just walks away as if he does that every day of the week. It's an absolute storming goal. Absolutely not a thing the keeper can do about it. It is past him before he's even sniffed it.
He is such a talent. Remember, now he's a Danish international. He's 6'2". He's just scored his 25th goal in what is his 119th appearance. And Celtic really got in ahead of a lot of championship clubs who were looking at him at the time when they signed him in January 22. He only signed a 4-year deal last September, but he is such a talented player.
Yeah, there's already been interest from Italy and other places about him, and you can see it now. He's so comfortable. He does seem a step above, doesn't he? Most of the players that are around him in this pitch just now.
I remember being in the Metropolitano Stadium in Madrid when Atletico put Celtic to the sword in the Champions League, and Atletico Madrid are another club who've been heavily linked with Matt O'Reilly. He's 23 years of age. As Kilmarnock now with Marley Watkins look for a consolation into the penalty area, shoots it hard, keeps it out, comes then back in towards Daniel Armstrong, who curls a fine consolation, left-footed. And Kilmarnock respond with a fine goal at the other end. It's Kilmarnock 1, Celtic 4.
A fabulous finish there. Certainly should have scored when he went through Marley Watkins, and he usually does score in those situations. They will check the original ball for offside when it was played through. It was a very, very tight one with Watkins. He saved a really decent save there, Joe Hart at the start of it, but he's dived to try and save that goal that went into the top corner. He's not really got up since then, so I think he's done himself a little bit of damage there. To take nothing away from the goal from Daniel Armstrong. Curled round, top corner, fabulous. We've had 2 great goals in the second half.
Well, Joe Hart at the minute is being tended to by 2 physios. This is a real concern. He's looking and will get a 3rd successive title. But you would hope that this isn't a serious injury for Joe, because you would want him to bow out at Hampden in the Scottish Cup final.
Yeah, he's not really moved a great deal. It looks to me he's landed right on his elbow. It's then jarred up to his shoulder. So it's his right elbow to his shoulder. And if I had to guess anything, I would suggest possibly shoulder. But we'll see.
Well, Gavin Wallace is our touchline reporter here at Rugby Park tonight. Gavin.
Ian, it looks as if he has indeed just kind of come down heavy on his shoulder and his elbow as well. As you can see, both the physios are on, looking to him and attending to him at the moment. He has sat up, but he is taking quite a bit of time with the medical team. Scott Bain hasn't got up to warm up yet. We're just watching a replay now, and yeah, it looks as if it's been a real sore one. But I think Liam Donnelly may just have clipped him on the way by as well, so there may be something in that, but I think probably 90% of that, Ian, has been the damage he did falling over, coming down from the dive to try and save it.
That's Gavin Wallace, a man not only who delivers the news, but delivered the pies, more importantly, at half-time.
We were very, very impressed with that. I think I'm being very polite here as soon as I said thank you, but no thank you for the pie. I had a very nice glass of water. Thank you, Gavin. I know, thank you, Gavin.
Well, Joe Hart is still getting treatment, and that goal is not going to stand.
That's what I suggested. I thought Marley Watkins looked offside in the first play, and I think the referee's got that one right.
So after a VAR check, and it was a lengthy check, VAR has ruled it out. It was a fine goal from Daniel Armstrong, but it will not count because Watkins is adjudged to have been offside. Pat?
It's very, very, very tight. My first initial impression was that may be offside. So you look at my notes, I've not written down 4-1. I thought, not sure about that one. It was a great finish, when it came in there, but everything's going against Kilmarnock at the moment, and it's a real shame. At the moment, the big news is Joe Hart's got back up, and those Celtic fans are but 20 yards behind them. We'll be quite relieved about that, because with Rangers coming up in the Scottish Cup final, they will want their entire first team and every first team pick there.
Well, they're just making sure that Joe Hart is going to be okay to continue. Half-time at Old Trafford, incidentally, now Lee Blakeman.
Manchester United 1, Newcastle 0. Kobbie Mainoo's goal on the half-hour mark the difference between the two teams. Unmarked inside the area, right-footed, calmly placed into the bottom corner. Newcastle with chances to equalise since then. Their best chance coming at the end of the half. A Trippier corner in towards Guimaraes. Free header, 10 yards out. Put it wide of the far corner. Half-time, Manchester United 1, Newcastle 0.
Remember, Brighton 0, Chelsea 1 was a half-time score and a 7:45 kick-off at the Amex. They were underway in the WSL at 7:15. Sahel Sahi has the latest.
We've got 18 minutes to play here, Ian. It's Tottenham 0, Chelsea 1. That goal in the first half from Hamano separates the two sides, but Chelsea have been edgy in this second half. They've been almost careless as well, and a good chance for Tottenham. Ashley Neville poked it over the top from 6 yards away. 18 minutes to play, Tottenham 0, Chelsea 1.
Bearing in mind the Scottish Cup final is less than a fortnight away, Joe Hart is looking like he's going to be okay, as the ball will run through towards the former England goalkeeper, all in yellow away towards our left-hand side. It was April 2004 that he made his first bow in the English game, Shrewsbury against Ebbsfleet, and in the subsequent 20 years, Joe Hart, over 700 appearances in his career. And when you consider 75 caps for England, what an exceptional career he has had in the English game and the Scottish game.
Absolutely. And do you know, it's nice if not everyone gets to bow out the way they want to bow out. And considering this season, he's on the cusp of winning the league with Celtic. Obviously, he had a penalty shootout. It was against Aberdeen. He took a penalty, missed a penalty, but he also saved the one that actually got his team through. So, you know, he's had a really good end to it, and he wanted to top that off with the Scottish Cup as well. And if he walks away from his career at that point, it's a lovely way to do it.
2 titles south of the border with Manchester City, and a third on its way with Celtic, and still maybe a 17th clean sheet after that goal for Kilmarnock was ruled out for Joe Hart, who will in fact be part of the BBC coverage for the forthcoming Euros in Germany. He'll be part of the BBC team. Celtic then lead by 4-0. We're approaching the hour mark here at Rugby Park for what has been a dominant display by the champions. We'll be hearing from Brendan Rodgers as well as soon as we can after the final whistle.
I think he'll be keen to talk, don't you?
Here is Armstrong delivering the cross towards the far post, and the header back off the crossbar from Robbie Dees. Climbed it well, 6 yards out, hit the frame of the goal. Goal kick, Celtic 4-0.
Well, it looks like Kelly have turned up, but it's taken him a wee while and it's too late. There's a couple of, obviously the last one was called offside, but that was a great ball down the right hand side, back post, and just as you're coming in, that's one of the good things. We're talking about centre backs type players playing at full back. Well, if you go and overlap and you get to the back post, where you're a big lad coming in the back post there, couldn't keep it down, hit off the crossbar. But they've been much better. You said it after about 5 minutes at the start of the second half that they look a lot more lively. Well, you're absolutely spot on. They have been much better. I think Derek McInnes has had a few words apart from the tactical changes that he's made that have worked.
Well, they'd lost their 2 previous visits this season, but they've returned to form, because before that they'd had handsome wins on 3 occasions prior to that, 4-1, 5-0 and 4-0. Indeed, unbeaten in 6, going all the way back to 2018 prior to the defeats early this season. They're leading here by 4-0. They are defending the end where all the noise is coming from here at Rugby Park in Ayrshire, away towards our left-hand side as the cross is played in by Matty Kennedy on this near side. But there's a Kilmarnock player who is down. There's something ironic about this, that the referee has been so quick to stop play with a head injury, bearing in mind that he wasn't as quick when, in similar circumstances, it allowed Celtic to take an early lead.
That was not missed there by the Kilmarnock supporters, who are acutely aware of the fact that that's why they lost that first goal. Really surprised me. I mean, Celtic are going to make a lot of changes now. Maybe slightly surprised it's taken quite so long. If you're a Kilmarnock player, you're thinking, oh, thanks very much, you're going to bring on the likes of Kyogo. It's not going to be easy, because he's a very, very special player and in real danger going forward.
Well, it's a triple substitution that is in the offing.
Quadruple? No, it's triple. You're right, triple.
Are we able to get to Gavin for news of this change? A triple change, maybe, made by Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, it looks like a triple change. Adam Ida, also I think Dyson Maiden, James Forrest all coming off. You'll see Palmer, Kyogo Furuhashi, and I think Nicholas Kuhn also coming on. So not only is Brendan trying to obviously maybe think about what's coming up as we're talking about the Scottish Cup, he's adding a little bit more of a goal threat here as well. So I think, and Pat may agree, he's obviously wanting more from this game.
So looking to change things and freshen things up. And certainly, Pat, I remember being at Parkhead for Kyogo's. It was his home debut. It was 3 years ago now when he scored that hat-trick against Dundee. But as you say, I mean, you had sort of like parallels with Larson, didn't you, that particular day?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, Celtic fans will say, certainly the first 2 years there, he was unbelievable. The number of goals. Maybe less or so this year, but he's been asked to do a different job under Brendan Rodgers, quite often asked to play in a deeper role, not as an out-and-out centre-forward, and that certainly had an effect on his play. But he never gives up anything, he chases everything, and he's still deeply loved up there with some of the great players that Celtic have had over the years.
Well, just talking of that, James Forrest, who's now one of the substitutes, players who's made way with that substitution. I mean, he's approaching 500 appearances, and he's still probably another season short of hitting the top 10 in terms of the all-time appearance list makers for Celtic in their great history. When you consider that Jimmy McMenemy is 10th with 558, and we talked about the great man earlier on tonight, Billy McNeil. I don't think anybody will surpass his 822 appearances for Celtic. But you've had Paul McStay, Roy Aitken, Packy Bonner, who's here tonight, Danny McGrain, so many great players for Celtic down the years.
Yeah, just about every one of them mentioned is world-class player, and all of them celebrated. And they've had great players over the years, but they do love their skillful players, and maybe somebody like Jimmy Johnson wasn't up there with those numbers, but loved just as much nevertheless.
It's the current crop of 2024 who will be celebrated as a 54th title will be lifted at the weekend in the home game against St Mirren. It will be very much a carnival atmosphere for that 12:30 kick-off and the trophy lift that I'm sure you'll be hearing here on BBC Radio 5 Live at the weekend. We'll also bring you news of the conclusion of the WSL season as well. Before, of course, on Sunday, it's the final day of the Premier League campaign, and our commentary at 4 o'clock will be Manchester City against West Ham United, with news of all the other goals as they go in. Back underway, talking of the Premier League at the Amex, Alistair Bruce Ball.
Brighton 0, Chelsea 1. Cole Palmer's header in the first half, the difference between the two teams. Brighton have had to make a change at half-time, though. Lewis Dunk did receive treatment for a problem during the first half, and the skipper's had to go off. Replaced by Valentin Barco, Igor Julio now at centre-back. Brighton 0, Chelsea 1.
You look at Celtic's recent form, Pat. They've scored at least 2 in each of their last 10 games now, but they've scored at least 3 in 8 of those 10. This is a team that has hit form at the right time.
Yeah, and there have been wobbles, I said it before, but Brendan Rodgers will say this is his first season in. He had to learn about the players. They had to learn what he wanted of them that was slightly different from the previous manager. They've had a number of injuries that have been important as well, but he is getting the best out of certain players, and that's what you want to do for a manager.
Ball is played into Kyogo, sharp turn when he's back to goal, still gets the shot away as well. He's just so lively in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, he's as sharp as any player. The funny thing is, he's been quite quiet in a lot of games I've seen him recently, out with the box, and you think, where is he playing? But as soon as the ball is in, he's lively, he's twisting, he's turning. Players, big centre halves hate playing against him because he's not the tallest as well, and he's got such a sniffer's nose for a goal.
Corner, a rather flat ball played in from that far side, the left. Hasn't had as a productive season as his previous 2 in the colours of Celtic. 20 in his first season, 34 last season, 18 so far for this campaign, as Celtic lead 4-0, 66 minutes played at Rugby Park. Celtic support in fine voice as Carter Vickers at a walking pace. Kyogo drops short back towards the former Tottenham player, and now he accelerates and he holds off the challenge of Watkins, and now with Scales. Fields of Athenry being sung by the Celtic supporters.
Yeah, and I think they'll just go through every song they want to do tonight, because it's now just a celebration. It looks like almost until the end, because they're controlling the game. They're not pushing it too far forward. Kelly have been a lot more sensible in this half. I mean, they were so open, they were so wide. They were allowing the wingers to get behind them time and time again. They've not allowed it quite the same in the second half, but then why should Celtic over push it? You know, you're playing on a pitch that could lead to injuries if you're not careful, and you still get A, a cup final to go, and B, a game that you want to enjoy next week at the weekend anyway.
Kyogo plays it in early, and this is O'Reilly, who was running forward, almost had a sight of goal. It just opened up for him momentarily, didn't it?
No, I think he surprised himself by finding himself almost through in goal there, but actually I would say that was partially the pitch there. He tried to drag it on and it was bobbling in front of him and he couldn't get it down, so he wasn't quick enough to get it through. But he said, "No, that was very, very good game," and Brendan Rodgers will have A, enjoyed that, and B, will be desperately hoping he is not tempted away next season, because the season that he wants to have next season, not just domestically but in Europe as well, you need your best players.
But that's the thing, isn't it, is that next season Brendan will be judged on his signings.
Yeah, I mean, I always give managers a season. It's so unfair not to, because it's not their players and they need to get a job done with them. But just stupid free kick there, and Kilmarnock getting a little bit frustrated. This time it was Matthew Kennedy, still probably upset about his goal being chopped off, but actually it wasn't him, it was Daniel Armstrong who scored the goal, wasn't it? But you know, you want to take your team into Europe when you've had them for a year. You've got them doing the things you want them to do. A number of players, as I say, skills has improved brilliantly. Riley's actually getting better all the time, and you're now getting the best out of Hatate and Maeda again, so, and they'll add one or two as well.
Celtic are attacking once again. Kyogo with a little flick has made a darting run to the near side of the 6-yard box with an outstretched right leg, and it flashed over the top for a goal kick. 4-0 Celtic.
It's one of those, see if that goes in, that would have been utter genius. It was a back heel flick behind him, and actually at Ibrox last night there was a goal not unlike that scored by Dundee, but that would have been very, very good, just over the crossbar. It just shows you how lively Kyogo Furuhashi is.
Our touchline reporter Gavin Wallace was saying that Kilmarnock have met Celtic and Rangers a combined 8 times this season. They've scored in every single match against the old firm. They've had a good record of late of finding the back of the net, as Celtic will win a corner kick. You have to go back, well, if you go back to mid-December, Killie have failed to score just once in their last 21. But here they're being put to the sword, trailing by 4-0 as Celtic have a corner on the right.
And they've not had many chances, let's be fair. They had the one across the crossbar earlier on in this half, and the one that was offside, but apart from that, very few.
Corner kick then on the right hand side. Scales tried to meet it, headed away, knocked back in by Kyogo. Header out by Lewis Mayo at the back for Kilmarnock. Hatate lifts it, but it's one that's just going to drop and be comfortably claimed by Kieran O'Hara, the Kilmarnock keeper.
It's really interesting, Scales. I mean, everything used to be hit to Carter Vickers, you know, and they've got other height in there as well. But they've got such belief in this young lad, Liam Scales. Everything's aimed towards him. I mean, Celtic build out for the back. It's always given him as well. And he's left-footed, can spot a pass, happy to walk into the midfield with the ball as well.
There is Donnelly in the midfield for Kilmarnock. Plays the ball back as they're doing the Poznan now. The Celtic support, they've turned the back on the action, and Celtic at the other end, they're going to miss another goal, and it's rolled in by O'Reilly, left-footed into the bottom left-hand corner. The Celtic support missed that. They were doing the Poznan at the opposite end, as Celtic are cruising to another title. Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 5.
And O'Reilly, as he's been cruising, absolutely cruising all the way through this game, and he just ghosts into that position once again. Celtic getting to the byline, it's just too easy for them. It's a pass back to O'Reilly, and there's not a calmer player on that pitch today And even when he's standing in front of goal and players going to try and close him down, there's still not a calmer person in this place today. And he just rolls it into the far corner there. 5-0. And this is painful for Kilmarnock. And right in front of us, many in blue and white are getting out of here. But there's nobody in green and white leaving.
No. There are a number of, as Pat says, Kilmarnock supporters who've seen enough now, but nobody is leaving early in that end away towards our left-hand side. They just want more goals as Celtic lead 5-0, and there is activity on the bench of Kilmarnock. Looks like Fraser Murray is going to be coming on, as this is Armstrong, and he shoots. And after having a disallowed goal, he goes very close with a left-footed effort just across the face of goal, out for a goal kick.
He's so unlucky there. I mean, we've seen a few goals. This weekend there was 3 goals very similar to that in the Premier League. And Callum Hudson-Odoi had one. And it's just, you go across the 18-yard line, you try and find the back post. He's been really unlucky there. That one just skimmed the post. He couldn't get anything back, and at the moment, Kelly, nothing is going for them, and everything's going right for Celtic.
Celtic leading by 5-0. There was not a great amount of jeopardy coming into this game for Celtic, requiring just a 1 point from their 2 remaining games. But they've not looked back ever since they opened the scoring as early as the 5th minute.
I'm willing to say now Celtic are likely to win the league here. A fair chance they might do it. And there is also a real joy when you do win something, that you win it and can enjoy the moment. You can't enjoy the moment if you're 1 goal and you're hanging on and you could lose at any minute. The Celtic players can actually love every minute, as the Celtic fans can as well.
A double change for Celtic in the offing as we go to the Amex and Alistair Bruce ball.
Brighton 0, Chelsea 1. Open game at the start of the second half. 10 minutes into it, Brighton attacking. That's leaving space for Chelsea on the counter, and Kuku's gone close. Malo Gusto's gone close. Cole Palmer has had a shot blocked. Malo Gusto down injured for Chelsea at the moment, though. Brighton 0, Chelsea 1.
And let's get an update from Lee Blakeman at Old Trafford.
2 minutes gone in the second half. Manchester United 1, Newcastle 0. Newcastle with an early chance after half-time. Guimaraes, edge of the area, right-footed shot, took a deflection off Amrabat. Onana did well to adjust and keep it out. Manchester United 1, Newcastle 0.
I wonder if we can go to the touchline for Gavin Wallace for news of the changes.
Looks as if Matt O'Reilly and Callum McGregor are coming off for Tomoki Iwata and Paulo Bernardo coming on for champions-elect Celtic, and Matty Kennedy making way. He's just struggling, I think, a little bit as Fraser Murray comes on to add just a bit of freshness and a bit of width for Kilmarnock as they try and at least get something, a consolation from this game, Deno.
Well, that roll there, whilst Gavin was talking, is because Callum McGregor, before coming off the field of play, went right in front of the Celtic support to acknowledge their presence, who have been vociferous right from the first minute, and he was greeted with such an ovation. When you consider that he is the 22nd captain of the club, that he was made in 2021, it will be his 3rd trophy lift as skipper at the weekend, and that action was greatly acknowledged by the travelling support as he personally looked for what would be a 9th title as Bernardo and Iwata come onto the field of play for Celtic. And it also just clenched his fist as well, and there was a desire etched across his face that just said, look, we might be leading by 5-0, don't let the standards drop.
Yeah, don't let the standards drop on the pitch, but they've not really let the kind of noise drop off it either. From the start of this game till now, they have not stopped the Celtic fans. They've just sang the whole time, they've celebrated, they've got behind their team, and it's lifted their team as well.
A goal at Old Trafford, Lee Blakeman.
It's been coming since half-time. Newcastle are level, Manchester United 1, Newcastle 1. Ball in from the right from Murphy, went straight across the 6-yard line, and there was Anthony Gordon to tap in from close range. Manchester United 1, Newcastle 1.
Chelsea still lead at Brighton by 1-0. Elsewhere in the Scottish Premiership tonight, St Mirren 1, Hearts 1. Level at Pittodrie between Aberdeen and relegated Livingston. Hibs lead Motherwell by 3-0. And in that vital game down at the bottom at McDermott Park, it's still St Johnstone 0, Ross County 1, which would mean that St Johnstone then would go into a playoff against the winners of either Raith or Partick, which Raith incidentally won last night. The second leg at Starks Park will be live on BBC Scotland on Friday night. But here at Rugby Park, with 14 minutes remaining, Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 5.
And also Celtic have been able to, make 5 substitutions, get a lot of players on the pitch, cheer them up a little bit, because you always want to be part of it, don't you? If you're winning a title, you want to be on that pitch when that moment actually comes, and it will slowly but surely build up between now and the end of the game. There's 14 minutes to go. I'm sure the Kilmarnock fans don't want that. They would rather just blow that whistle right now.
Palmer on that far side, the left, looking to cut inside, and ball played forward. Nice little turn as well. It was a strong challenge out of defence by Kilmarnock. How much does your time at Rugby Park feature in the Accidental Footballer Volume 2?
The Volume 2, quite a lot actually. I had a fabulous time down there. It's a beautiful place around here, and the fans are fantastic. And I would actually argue that my time, and we're talking down here, my time here, my year here, is probably the happiest year of my career. Which is, considering the years with Chelsea and Everton, that's how much kind of feeling I have for this club. And I know what the fans are feeling just now. This hurts them just now, but they're an understanding bunch as well. They understand the limitations that you've got financially. So there's a lot of nice stories about my Kilmarnock days, yes, in the most recent book,
and available in paperback soon.
You're doing me a favour.
To be fair, you've done me a few over the years.
Well, football and how to survive it. Right, can we move on now?
Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 5. Pat Nevin is with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Brighton 0, Chelsea 1. Manchester United 1, Newcastle United 1 in the Premier League. Don't forget, a week on Saturday, FA Cup final day at Wembley, Manchester City, Manchester United, and at Hampden, it's the Scottish FA Cup, Celtic against Rangers, Manchester City, West Ham, incidentally. Don't forget our commentary on Sunday, the final day of the Premier League season. But Celtic will go into their final game of this campaign at Parkhead, ready to celebrate for what will be a carnival for all concerned at Parkhead. 5-0 they lead here at Rugby Park with 12 minutes remaining.
It's a slight concern that Carter Vickers has gone down there. It's one of those ones where he's had a few injuries before, and he's back again now. He doesn't go down easily. He's going to come off now. Remember, they've made 5 substitutions, but that's not the concern. The concern is you don't want one of your key players injured if you've got a cup final coming up, and slightly concerned. Maybe one of the few concerned looks at Brendan Rodgers has actually shot towards that pitch today.
Ball crossed over, headed on the left hand side. Taylor was tucked in to clear away. They'll be still desperate to get a clean sheet. Such are the desire levels for Celtic. As the cross from Murray is headed goalwards and easily gathered in by Joe Hart, who has taken over the captain's armband since that McGregor left the field of play. We'll get another update from Old Trafford now. Lee Blakeman.
Newcastle should be ahead. It's still Manchester United 1, Newcastle 1, but from a Manchester United corner, they lost it. Gordon went on the counter, played the ball into the area. Isak put in a shot. Brilliant block by Amrabat to deflect it onto the bar. Over for a corner. Manchester United 1, Newcastle 1.
Thank you, Lee. Remember, Chelsea is still leading at Brighton by 1-0. That was a 7:45 kickoff. But full time in the WSL. Sahel Sahi.
It's ended in Tottenham 0, Chelsea 1, which means it's going to the final day with Chelsea top on goal difference. They only managed 1 tonight. Amano, 8 minutes before half time. They dominated the first half, but they were edgy and sloppy in the second. It's all set up for them for a thrilling Saturday afternoon between Chelsea and Manchester City for the WSL title. Full time here, Tottenham 0, Chelsea 1.
And you'll hear that conclusion during 5 Live Sport on Saturday afternoon, as Kilmarnock are going to be making a double change. We've got 10 minutes remaining here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Celtic might not have been as convincing this season as they were last season, but the fact is it's another title, and Brendan Rodgers then, maybe the one thing that he's still got to do is his time as Celtic manager is to make a real impression in Europe, because you have to go back to the days of Neil Lennon when a Celtic manager last did that.
Yeah, and it's tough, financially it's very tough for us Scottish teams. The TV monies aren't here, so they need to budget wisely. When they buy, they need to buy to sell, then use that money wisely to build further on. This is a good team. Is this a good enough team to make an impression in Europe? I think Brendan Rodgers knows a little bit more players needed. 2 or 3 more players, strengthen the squad. I think you're okay up front. If you can keep Ida, that's fine. Get enough creativity out wide, but when you get 1 or 2 injuries, say in the centre-back position, and also if you haven't got McGregor there, this team looks like a totally different team, so a little bit back up there as well.
Well, he says he's been treated like a novice at times. He did admit it's been a challenging season, but ultimately it's going to be a rewarding one. As a double change being made by Kilmarnock. Touchline reporter Gavin Wallace.
Kevin Van Veen are coming on. David Watson, who has been the Scottish Football Writers Young Player of the Year and the PFA Young Player of the Year, will be coming off as well. And we can also see that Marley Watkins, his races ran tonight. He has put a shift in. It's been a bit of a thankless task up top for him this evening as well. But Rory McKenzie and Kevin Van Veen coming on for Kelly Deno.
Kevin Van Veen, who scored a wonder goal for Motherwell last April as Celtic, just to deny them the I think it was described as a little bit of a stutter on their way to the title for Motherwell. But the budget Burkamp is on. As there's been a goal at Brighton. Alistair Bruce Ball.
A very popular goal amongst the Chelsea fans in the away end to my right. Christopher Nkunku has scored. Malo Gusto getting away down the right-hand side, cut back into the box. Nkunku side-footed home. He got thrown a blue balloon by one of the Chelsea fans, and he's been blowing that up in celebration. Brighton 0, Chelsea 2.
Any blue balloons in the Scottish title race went pop after 5 minutes when Celtic took the lead. They're leading 5-0. 7 minutes to go to the end. 1-1 incidentally still at Old Trafford. So with Chelsea looking on course for the 3 points, they would move into 6th place in the Premier League, and they'd be 2 points clear of Newcastle as it currently stands with that 1-1 draw at Old Trafford. Cross from the right-hand side, almost an own goal.
That could be one of the great own goals that he put it in the middle there. He's tried to clear it and he has leathered it. He was running along the ground, no great pace. It didn't look as if he needed to do that, and he has smashed it off the crossbar. Phenomenal.
Joe Wright, I think it was the substitute from the right-hand side. When I said it was 1-1 at Old Trafford, Lee Blakeman.
What a strike from Ahmad to make it Manchester United 2, Newcastle 1. A Fernandez corner from the left, deflected to the edge of the area. Ahmad struck it first time. He will never strike a ball cleaner than that. It flew past Dubravka. 11 minutes gone in the second half. Manchester United 2, Newcastle 1.
2-1 to Manchester United. Brighton 0, Chelsea 2. And in the WSL, Chelsea have gone top, albeit on goal difference over Manchester City after a 1-0 win, a full-time score at Tottenham. Joe Hart, all in yellow. They'll be ready to celebrate in front of those travelling support, I would think, in about 6 minutes' time. Been a number of substitutions that will just only add to the agony for Kilmarnock, who've never really been in the game, Pat Nevin.
No, they haven't, and it's the pace that Celtic started this game was frightening. But they knew what the weaknesses were. They've watched a lot of Kilmarnock recently. They realised that they didn't see the weaknesses earlier in the season. They spotted them now, and they destroyed that Kilmarnock defence in that first half. It's been a little bit easier for Celtic in second half, but why should they over push it now? Because it could lead to injuries and they'll get a big game to go. But never ever in doubt after the first, I'd say 10-12 minutes.
Yeah. And by that point there were already 2 goals to the good. Kyogo just tried to release Nicholas Kuhn on this near side. He was a German forward who arrived in January from Rapid Vienna. Tonight's only his 16th appearance. I guess we might see more of him next season.
Yeah, it does sometimes take a little bit of time when you come into a new league. It's not just a new league, it's a new life, a new place you're living in. You're actually working with a lot of people you don't know. And of course, it's been up against maybe some surprising players that you didn't think would maybe do as well. You get players that had left the club and you thought, well, maybe I'll be number one here. Well, he hasn't been. But James Forrest, in a big way, has taken up one of those wide areas, which has maybe surprised everyone, and maybe even including Brendan.
James Forrest on the score sheet in this convincing win. Carter Vickers brings the ball out of defence. They pass the ball forward. Iwasa passes it back then to Carter Vickers. Playing the ball around neatly at the back. Johnston towards Joe Hart. It's the Olays now from the Celtic support. Really are milking this now with 4 minutes remaining as more Kilmarnock supporters drift towards the exits here inside Rugby Park. Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 5 with 4 minutes to go.
Do you know what? Generally players hate Olays. The reason why? You don't like the fact that it feels arrogant, as if you're being arrogant by doing the passing, but you also are acutely aware that somebody's going to go and lump you. At one point, someone's going to get frustrated and go right through you at some point, and you've not done anything wrong, you're just passing the ball. But because it feels so bad as a opponent of that, yep, as I said, there we go.
And it was Daniel Armstrong who just barged into the former Killie player Greg Taylor to try and stop that run of the Olays from the Celtic support. 3 minutes remaining of normal time. BBC Radio 5 Live. And the ball cleared away by Palmer up towards Kyogo, won back by Kilmarnock, then it goes astray and Taylor will tidy up back towards Joe Hart. They're going to be big boots to fill, aren't they, to replace the former England goalkeeper who's done so well during his time in the last 3 years here.
Yeah, almost taken it for granted. And there were a few mistakes early on, but he's may have work to do.
Shot saved by Hart and then prodded wide. It came in from distance from Liam Polworth. Hart was equal to it. His concentration levels are still as good as ever.
Yeah, I mean the ball's bounced in front of him. That's actually not an easy one to do. The problem is he's pushed it out towards the striker running in there, but he didn't manage to get away with it, and he'll be delighted he's likely to get a clean sheet.
This is Bernardo coming forward, and it's a save at the other end from Kieran O'Hara. Just spread himself at that near post behind for a corner kick to cut out Kyogo's effort. Corner kick to Celtic 5-0.
It's really surprised by that, because Kyogo gets put into that position usually. He never thinks. Smashes it first time, usually towards a corner. He took a bad touch when a touch was unnecessary. Looking a little bit rusty there.
Corner is delivered deep, punched away two-handed by O'Hara. Comes out to Johnston, who lashes that from distance, right-footed. Central position, 30 yards out, swerves its way over the crossbar. Goal kick. Celtic 5 goals to the good. And it's only a matter of time before they can celebrate what will be their 54th title. Just one behind now, the Rangers tally of 55.
And don't think they don't know that. It's always that bragging rights that you're looking for at that point in time. And Celtic have had a fabulous run. You have to keep it going, and this last game, you'll enjoy this. They'll love this for the moment. They'll love it the weekend when they play against St Mirren. But they need to build on it. They need to keep on building on it. They need to get better, because Rangers are a better team now at the end of this season than they were at the start of the season, and they should be better next season again. So you never get to stand still in this game, but at least they can enjoy this moment.
Yes, they can, and they are moments away as we enter the last 60 seconds. But as Pat was saying, it was never in doubt tonight. Never in doubt. And this will be a 12th title in 13 years, which says a lot for the dominance that they've had in the Scottish game.
Yeah, I mean, I understand there was that period of time, we know, when Rangers, had the financial problems. They were going a long way down, Rangers, and for that reason Celtic didn't have teams that were necessarily financially even close to them, not even in the same breath as them. Some teams came close now and again, gave them a little bit of a fright, but in the end it needed the team the size and the backing of Rangers, and the money that they've got, and that's come, and a couple of questions have been answered and asked. They've been asked, but Celtic in the end have answered them time and again so far, but those questions are not going to go away. It does help, obviously, Celtic, because they're going to have European football next season, and that will definitely help them with the money you get from that they can build in that squad.
5 minutes of added on time, which we're now into here at Rugby Park on BBC Radio 5 Live. Remember, in the Premier League, Brighton and Hove Albion 0, Chelsea 2, Manchester United 2, Newcastle 1. 7:45 kick-off at the Amex. 8 o'clock they were underway at Old Trafford, and there will be reaction to come here on BBC Radio 5 Live, as we're live until 10:30 tonight But here it's just a question of playing out time before Brendan Rodgers will be beaming.
Yeah, I mean, he'll try and keep it calm for a little while, obviously, but they'll be going over and supporting and enjoying it with those fans. And Brendan Rodgers, in the end, you have to remember, he wasn't absolutely welcomed by a lot of the Celtic supporters when he came back. They felt they'd let him down by going to Leicester. And I thought the minimum he had to do this season to be accepted was at least the league and probably one cup. Well, he still can do that now. He's got the league in the back pocket, but he's not quite got that Scottish Cup yet. If he gets both of them, I think he's fully welcome back into the fold.
You think as well, he faced much criticism when they were knocked out of the League Cup back in August by Kilmarnock after extra time. It was a Marley Watkins goal that night. He's had a bit of a sticky time of it at Rugby Park. It hasn't been a happy hunting ground for him, but it's a trophy hunt. Then Celtic are going to add another bit of silverware to that ever-increasing cabinet back at Parkhead with another title, because we are 3 minutes away, and it's been such a display tonight. But what has been equally impressive is the desire levels to try and keep Kilmarnock at bay. I know they had the goal disallowed, but they've not dropped at all, Celtic, in terms of their performance levels.
I think you made the perfect point there, but not drop. You look around that Celtic team, there's nobody's had a bad game. There's not a player you think, well, he's had a bit of a rocky one, or he's maybe hiding a little bit. No, every single player wants on the ball every time, and that's with the best teams. That's when they look good, is that everybody wants the ball, everyone wants to help their mate at every single opportunity. And there's nobody, I actually honestly can't think of anyone who's less than a 7, 8 out of 10. And when you get a team, 11 players doing that, and the substitutes the same, you generally win games.
Just about momentum as well, isn't it? Building up towards that Scottish Cup final. It'll be a 5th straight win in the league, 8 unbeaten since Hearts away at the start of March. As there are 2 balls on the pitch at the moment as a cross comes in, punched away by Hart. Palmer is there as the referee. Well, they thought some of the Celtic support, that was the final whistle. We've still got another 2 minutes remaining. It was a flag up and a free kick to Celtic.
I love the fact it was 5 minutes added on, and there was 8 or 9, 10 substitutions or whatever. There was a couple of injuries as well. In a normal match would probably that'd be about 9, 10, but no, 5, and I think that's perfectly sensible. Unless you've got a bet at 6-0.
2012, that would be a repeat of, but not to be, it would seem, because the threat to the Kilmarnock goal hasn't been as regular since that raft of substitutions, which is always the case. But they're now just waiting to celebrate. It's all about the final whistle now here at Rugby Park. The game was won in the first half. They've enjoyed themselves, they've scored goals, they've put on a good display. As Palmer on that far side, the left. And a deafening chant of "We have won the league again" rings out from the Chadwick stand away towards our left, because there are 60 seconds remaining. Kyogo trying to turn, might fall in towards Palmer. Good block that came in from a sliding right. Now it goes for a throw.
Just want to spoil themselves, don't they? To get a final goal at the final whistle, just to put the absolute cherry on the cake.
Might fall to Kyogo. Kyogo with a shot, right-footed, couldn't keep it down, off target, goal kick. Celtic lead 5 minutes.
It's a big thing. I mean, those sort of days, when Celtic fans are lucky, they get this very, very regularly, where they win leagues and they remember those days. But if you're a fan of a team, you remember if you were there, and looking at all those fans up there, and they're building up these last 10, 15 seconds, they are going to explode into noise.
It's exactly that, Pat. 10, 15 seconds, a look at the watch of referee Don Robertson as the ball is in the air and the final whistle sounds, and Celtic celebrates. Celtic's dominance continues. A 3rd successive title, a 12th in 13 seasons, and a beaming Brendan Rodgers is a champion again.
Yeah, he's been very respectful, going out to every Kilmarnock player, the manager, etc. Doing the right thing, but he'll go over in a few moments with those Celtic players. I suspect they'll have some t-shirts ready for that, and those Celtic fans have come down. They wanted to watch their team, they wanted to see some good football. but they wanted this moment. They wanted those players to go over in a few moments and go and celebrate, and they're going to have an opportunity to do that. It'll be quite choreographed, I suspect, tonight. Because no one's running over just now yet, are we?
Not yet, no. I just wonder what the t-shirt will say, bearing in mind 12 years ago it said this is just the beginning. Oh, how right that was. Because since then, with the exception of Rangers in 2021, it's been Celtic every single year. So what will be the prophetic words this time? Because Brendan Rodgers has added to his previous titles of 2017 and 2018. We'll be hearing from the Celtic manager, I'm sure. But the game was won really as early as 12 minutes, as Pat said. Ida with the first goal after 5 minutes. Maeda 7 minutes later. Forrest added the third 10 minutes before half-time. And 2 goals from O'Reilly, the first of which was an absolute beauty. Celtic thoroughly deserved.
Yeah, and it's a really good thing if you can go and enjoy your last game, as I said, and play well and score a load of goals, so that the celebrations aren't tinged with any moment of sadness at all. And that's what Celtic have got tonight. They can all walk up with beaming smiles. No one's had a bad game. Everyone's had a great night, and they can go and love it. By the way, just in the background, the Killie fans have all stayed as well. I don't know if you've noticed, to applaud their players for the efforts that they've made this season, because they will be forgotten in the evening, but they've had a good season, and it's a bad end to it, here at Rugby Park, but their fans, they understand. This is Celtic. It's a tough gig. As for the rest of the season, it's been a fine season for them. But that's secondary. The t-shirts will be made in. They're coming out now. I hope there's nothing in towards City or anything. It's like that temptation of Brendan.
Kilmarnock have had a good season. They'll be back in Europe, albeit in the Europa League second qualifying round. As yet, Mark, the Celtic players haven't gone across to the Celtic travelling support. They're just forming. Green t-shirts are being handed out around in front of the tunnel area. But very, very soon, you will hear that roar as they will go over and celebrate in front of those 3,800 Celtic supporters away towards our left-hand side after what has been a commanding performance here. Kilmarnock 0, Celtic 5.
I'm trying to find the right words, Pat, to describe Celtic's mood at the moment. Not the fans who are bouncing, but the players and Brendan Rodgers are not delirious, are they? In many ways, it feels a little bit like job done, and we still have one more job to do.
Well, yes, but I would also say controlled and choreographed. Don't worry, it's coming. Right? They're holding it back until, respectfully, the Kilmarnock players are out. When they go over to the Celtic fans there, it's going to erupt, trust me. I've been here once or twice, and they will celebrate it, and they will love it, and they will love every moment of it. But yeah, at the moment, I think they've been told before, the game, if and when they win this, look, come back over, take it easy, we're going to celebrate this as a unit, as a group. So, I mean, it's not a fluke that they're looking as muted as they are just now. It's not a fluke. It's deliberate, because the normal thing is you win the league, you run to your fans and you're all jumping about. No, this is choreographed.
Is there the t-shirts, by the way, are green, and they say again on the front with the Scottish Championship trophy used as the eye, with a 3 on it as well, and then the back of the t-shirt says champions again with the trophy and a 3 on it. So that's what they're wearing, and the Celtic end have just set a few flares off as well in front of the fans.
A few flares?
Well, when I started saying that, Pat, there was 2 or 3. Now it looks like there's about 20.
It looks like the entire front row have all let a flare up, and I actually feel for the supporters behind them, because such is how thick the smoke is. Those supporters behind them won't be able to see the Celtic players.
Won't see a thing. Absolutely won't see a thing just now. I mean, that's definitely choreographed as well, without a doubt. But the Celtic players are, they want the photographs done, they want the memories done. But you're right, it has been, certainly a little bit muted. Maybe Brendan Rodgers wants that to some degree.
And I'm sure we'll touch on this later. We're going to talk much more about Celtic's triumph after 10 o'clock tonight. But I would imagine there's relief is also an overriding emotion for the players who are expected to deliver the title every single year and have been pushed closer than they have been in a long time tonight, and also relief for Rodgers in coming back and actually winning it.
Yeah, I said during the commentary there, absolutely. The minimum was 2 trophies this season, and one of them had to be the league. So that's the absolute minimum, or it just would not have been accepted by large numbers of Celtic fans. If you long memories, they really felt quite let down by Brendan when he left for Leicester City. So, you know, there's a lot of love to be sort of won back by from those Celtic supporters. Every single trophy makes a difference, and especially the way you win it. And if you win it here today, you win it with some style, win it with good goals, and it's a team that they can get behind. It's not only winners, but are in the Celtic style, as in they score a lot of goals. They're enjoyable to watch. And to be fair, you go to that team tonight, there's a lot of good players to watch in that team tonight. Certainly McGregor always is. O'Reilly probably the pick of the bunch, if I'm going to be absolutely fair about it. A very, very special player. And it's exactly what you say when you talk about Scottish teams. It's sadly just a shame. But the absolute truth, when they're that good, you think, can they stay? And that's what Brendan Rodgers has to work on, trying to keep his best players there so that 3 can be more than that.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to discuss the future of Celtic later on. The fans are chanting